okay, there's like enemy combatants down here, like shooting, so don't land yet. Oh wait, but there's 2 people bleeding out, so like land if you want to, but we don't know. And like you're making that decision.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Poker Central Podcast, episode 158, coming at you from the PokerGO studio in Las Vegas. I'm joined once again by the man who tries to distract me every single time.
Thank you so much, Remko. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm wearing the Kermit the Frog t-shirt in honor of your horrible impression of me. Brandon Schaefer, though, welcome to the show.
It needs to be green.
Yeah. I love Kermit, but the man I love even more is Brandon Schaefer. He won me $100 last night, little side action prop bet. But most importantly, he is back on the scene. If you are a poker fan like myself, who goes way back, you might recognize him from the EPT broadcast, 2005. I think he won the 5th ever EPT. Then he made the final table of the grand final, finishing in 2nd place.
Which was the very next tournament you played, right?
It was the next one I played. There was Vienna or something in between, but I had gone home and didn't play. So
God, that's unbelievable.
I won the 5th ever, and I came in 2nd in the 7th ever.
It's unreal.
EPT. It was a heater.
And the crazy part is that it took the EPT probably a good 10 seasons or 11 seasons to get a 2-time winner. He could have done it in like a month and a half.
Yeah. Every time I saw that stat, I was kind of blown away, and I kind of wish I had played more to see if I could have done it, but yeah, I don't know. I just ran super hot, and that was back when aggression was everything. People played so tight around money bubbles, around TV bubbles. It was insane. You get away with murder back then. Nowadays, I could never do it.
So we're going to dive into Brandon's playing career and also, a lot of the side stories that are very interesting into the military, Afghanistan, and now back here on Poker After Dark. But also would like to mention that we are talking about Bryn Kenny's epic Triton Million win later in the show. Yeah. We're going to touch on the all-time money list, and we're going to, dig into some juicy payouts there at the Triton events, because those series were massive. We got that coming up later, but first, Brandon, let's dig into your story a bit.
It's honestly a little embarrassing. Like, I subscribe to PokerGO, and it's like the Triton Million is what you guys broadcast, and then it's like me, and then like the other Triton events, and like everything is just so much more of a big deal than what we're doing right now. So like I'm excited to be here, but it's like we're little minnows trapped in between these giant.
Man, I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think that the super high roller stuff, like the Triton events, that's its own league over there. That's a world we can't really relate to.
Untouchable.
It's untouchable. Right. We don't really get what's happening there.
So it's like Major League Baseball, and then you're going to come in to watch like Little League.
I don't even know if that's the major leagues. It's just like it's its own planet kind of thing. We're over
it's
here
not
in the
reality.
Real world.
Yeah.
We're right here. You're playing 25-50. People can relate to this game.
Fair
the
enough.
Buy-in was a fucking million, man. Come on.
That's a good point you make. That's a good point you make.
As well.
When I see you last night battling with Mattisau and Brandon Cantu and the guys, I see money on the table that I can envision myself losing. When I see $1 million, I cannot relate to that at all.
It's a good point.
Yeah. So anyway, we're here in reality.
Yeah.
So
the
let's
real
get
world.
back to the show.
Yeah, exactly. Reality. Yeah. What was it like to play in a televised setting for the first time in probably at least 10 or 12 years?
Yeah, I was a little nervous at first. I didn't think I would be. I've been playing a few home games in Denver, and I'm fairly comfortable at the 25-50 level. But yeah, just being under the lights, having to, remember to put your cards over the things, and knowing that people at home are going to be able to see, like, what you're doing, it adds that little bit of pressure. And I wasn't expecting to drink that much. I only ended up having 3 glasses of wine, but I really needed them.
That's it?
To just kind of like, tone me down a little bit.
I thought you were going to have 3 bottles coming in. You thought you were going to bring a whole arsenal.
I thought about it. I was too nervous to get that drunk, but then I was also too nervous to stay like stone sober. So I had a little gentleman's buzz rolling. And it started to feel good, maybe 2 hours in. After the first break, I came back and I was like, okay, I remember how to do this.
Now, maybe a shot tonight and some wine?
Maybe. If I can get the whole table rolling, maybe we'll do that.
Justin Young drank a whole bottle of scotch.
Right.
But that's just an average Tuesday,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. Exactly. He would probably play horribly if he didn't have that. So he's at his like equilibrium point, and I'm trying not to go too far from mine. So we'll see.
That's fair.
Yeah. It's really cool to have you back, and I referred to this already, but when I first got into poker, I watched you win that EPT, and Justin Bonomo, by the way, was at that final table. 19-year-old Justin Bonomo, you were ahead of him on the all-time money list there for a little bit, but seeing you back then, and then the grand final, you losing to Rob Hollink, who was one of the
you
guys.
You bring that up like every time we talk, which is brutal.
But I
get it. You're a Dutchie.
It still hurts. It still hurts.
He loves rubbing it in.
Way too soon, dude.
It still hurts.
14 years later, I'm not over it.
Not over it. So what I want to know is, how did you find yourself in that position back then to travel across to Europe, play in those events? Because obviously there were not that many Americans back then who did that.
Yeah, it's true. PokerStars sponsored the EPT, and they ran satellites. That was the only way I would ever dream of going, was winning one of their satellites. They had you could either do a cash satellite or FPP satellite. And one of my good friends, Carl Olson, who played a lot back in the day, was a huge crusher. He qualified, and he got a free hotel out of it and airfare. And he said, hey, if you can find a cheap flight, why don't you come out here? You can play cash games, sweat me, whatever. So I bought the flight. There were 2 weeks left to qualify, and I played the cash and the FPP. It was only on Saturdays, one of each. The first week didn't qualify. Next week I qualified on FPPs. So I already had it was February, so flights were like $280 round trip, Seattle to Paris. I had my flight. He had already booked a hotel for us, so I had an entry. It was like a 2K euro entry. They were a lot smaller back then. I went out there, and then he and I finished 1-2, which is just completely mind-blowing.
What was the headline in the Seattle paper that you mentioned?
Battle from Seattle.
Battle from Seattle.
For Poker's French Open. It was like
that's amazing.
A little dramatic, but it's really cool that you're right. There were very few Americans in the field. They were probably all stars qualifiers, and for the two of us to get there. It was crazy too, because as the tables you get lower, you're like, okay, he's still in, he's over there. He grinded a 10 big blind stack for like 3 straight days or something. I had just heaps of was raising every single. I was just laughing and loving life, and I could see him glaring at me, just folding, reshoving, folding, just hating his life. We took very different routes, but we ended up heads up, and incredible experience.
Did you guys make a deal?
We did. So we got heads up, and I had him out chipped 4-1. And he was like, do you want to make a save or anything? And I was like, it's kind of a lot of money to just give up. If you win a couple pots, then maybe. And he was a far better poker player than I was. Justin was too. I just ran sick hot. But we got to heads up, and he just started completely owning my soul. He was just shitting on me nonstop. And we get to even in chips, and he's like, do you want to think about making a deal now?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, please, God, give me let's chop this thing. I have no shot. And then we get it in. He has a pair and a flush draw, and I had some raggy middle pair or something, and ended up holding as a 38% to win, because I was just I just need any pair. I need to get this in because I don't know what's going on. So I ended up winning, but he completely owned me. Justin owned me in a few pots at that final table. It's not a surprise that he's I was once ahead of him in tourney earnings. Yeah, clearly. No longer the case. There's only one person, right?
Exactly. Did that really change your life, and did it sort of push you into a career in poker? I can only imagine that, at the time there must have been a lot of money, big bankroll boost, and perhaps a big motivation to keep playing more?
Absolutely. I was very casual. I was actually more of a limit rakeback grinder on
as we all were back then.
Yeah, on Party and some of the skins that Party had. I think there was one called Eurobet. But winning 600K as a part-time player was really nice, and it did both though. It motivated me to travel to more tournaments, but it also kind of stunted my growth as I never really broke down the fundamentals of poker, and I had almost too much success right away and too much money right away to really put in the hours and figure out what I needed to do. I got addicted to traveling. I traveled a ton. I still was more aggressive than your average player, which I think back then was all you really needed to be plus EV. Because once you get late in these tournaments, the antes were massive. The structures back then were a little different, and so I think I was still plus EV. But it's sort of, I think it stunted, it capped my growth at a point. But yeah, so I got into it. I kept traveling. I would win money. I made a lot of friends who were really good, and that helped, being able to talk hands with people like that. But I never put in the hours.
So how long did it last?
Really good.
Until the money was gone. That's what you're getting at, I can tell.
Well, no, I live way under. I try to live way under my means at all times.
Okay.
It didn't change who I was. I traveled a ton. I still stayed in hostels. I still I went and played a 10,000 pound tournament in London, and stayed in a 30-pound hostel. And all of my buddies at the, Sean Deeb, there were a bunch of people who traveled a bunch. They're all staying at the Hilton, and like, good for them. They're like, we need to get a good night's sleep to play this tournament. I was like, I sleep better in a little bunk in a hostel knowing that I'm not spending 500 pounds on my accommodations. So I did a ton of travel. I've been to all 7 continents, 53 countries, but who's counting really?
Oh my God.
But like, I do it on the cheap. So I was
Yeah.
able to do that without dumping a ton of that money. The worst, like I bought a house, invested a lot of it, and then the crash of like 2008 happened. So I lost a lot of it just like trying to be super responsible. If I had been reckless and kept it all in cash and then like invested it heavy in like 2010, I'd be pretty rich. But
Wow.
I'm not that rich. I'm not.
So
very rich.
the safe route was worse than the
It
degenerate
ended
route.
up being, at that time it did for sure.
Huh.
There was a definite time where like after 2008, if you invested, like it was a print fest from then till now.
Mhm.
2005, 2006 was a pretty bad time, I think. It's well known, like worldwide.
One final thing on this EPT stuff,
Sure.
because it's so funny to me looking back, season 1. Did you have any idea of how big this tour was going to be and how quickly it would turn into one of the biggest things in poker? Because, only a few years later, Deauville was a 5K with almost 1,000 players.
Totally.
And Barcelona became this like marquee event that everybody had to go to.
Yeah.
PCA blew up really quickly. Did you have any idea of that?
I thought it would succeed for sure. It was really well run. John Duthie is, a legend in the game, and he made sure that everything was done right. All the players there respected it. It got bigger than I thought it would, but I knew that it had a bright future for sure. And at that time, like online poker was still going strong here. I thought they were just going to keep feeding, online qualifiers, and I think it could have been even bigger if, UIGEA stuff didn't happen. And so I always thought it had a bright future for sure. Great leadership, yeah.
And then at what point did you decide poker is not it for me anymore? I need to get out.
It was pretty quick. I mean, the Black Friday stuff for sure hurt. Again, for a little while there, I was traveling as much as I could to these tournaments, but then I would grind like 5-10 no limit on party poker and literally earn like, I don't know, 800 an hour or something, like 4 tabling. It was like printing money, right? And like all of a sudden UIGEA came out, games got tougher, economy went to shit. Like the economy going to shit affects everything. People can't just throw money online. And like, so it got harder to make money. I wasn't as passionate about it anymore. There's just a bunch of factors that came in. And then I was just like waking up on my couch at like 1 p.m. after like grinding till like 2, 3 in the morning the night before and just like, what am I doing kind of with my life? So
I do want to jump in real quick. You said you were grinding 5-10 on party poker?
Yes.
This was during the Tough Fish era.
Oh, yeah.
Did you play with Tough Fish?
I did not, unfortunately. I have watched all his videos.
Yeah.
And I love the, hiya, cha, cha, and like, I'm a straight, he's like counting out. He's fantastic. If anybody out there hasn't seen that, there's, classic guy, Tough Fish.
Damn it.
I never
I've yet
played
to
him,
find anyone that's played with Tough Fish.
No.
Anyway.
Sorry to disappoint. But yeah, like I was playing like full ring. It's like 9-handed, 5-10. I play 4 tables. And literally, like it was a print fest. It's crazy to think about today.
And you're making everyone cry right now who's trying to play 5-10 online or even lower stakes.
Right.
You're winning like almost a buy in an hour playing 4 tables.
Had I known, it was the golden era, you're just like, oh, this is going to be here forever. I can play 10 hours a week and like be rich. But like I should have just put my nose to the grindstone and grinded 40. But I did a bunch of cool travels and I don't really have regrets, but like my bank account has regrets for sure.
Well, I mean, you're making it all back now here on Poker After Dark, so you're not doing too bad. Was there like a decision point where you were like, I know what my next career path is going to look like and sort of find a way into that?
For sure. So, I played poker overall for about 6 years. Halfway in, I was, like I said, I was feeling dissatisfied with it. I started to look into different avenues. I thought about opening a bar in Seattle. I thought about doing going back to school to get an MBA and try to start a company. I think the bar would have done really well, but when I kind of dove into the nuts and bolts of it, like it's 18 hours of your day every single day for an unspecified period of time if you want to succeed. And the deeper down I got, I just wasn't willing to do that. And then my brother was a pilot in the Army. He still is a pilot in the Army today. And I had spent a lot of my travels in Germany where he was stationed, met a bunch of his friends. He was like, why don't you think about, flying in the Army? Medivac, I was a medic in the Army National Guard when I was in college. So I had a little bit of military experience beforehand. Medevac pilots were like gods. They come in this Black Hawk and, they're just the coolest people ever. And now that I've been one, I can confirm.
Oh my God, I feel like a loser having a bicycle.
But they were just amazing, and I started to talk to some of his friends who were military pilots, and every investigative step I took down that road, it became more and more appealing, as opposed to the other ones that were became less appealing. So there's definitely a point where I was like, okay, I want to do this. From that point, it still took 14 months to go to a recruiter, get them to fill out, the right paperwork, take all the right flight aptitude tests, physical fitness tests. I ended up losing 40 pounds. Wow. Trying to get into that. So yeah, there was a point where I decided, and then I kind of went full bore. The recruiters are, I don't want to speak too disparagingly because they have a hard job, but they could get me in as a helicopter mechanic tomorrow, or spend a year on paperwork and get me in as a pilot. Huh. So they're very motivated, and they don't get the credit they get is the same. So they're not motivated to put pilots in. They're motivated to put helicopter mechanics in. So they were, the entire time it was a battle trying to get hey, can I get that flight aptitude test scheduled? I had to keep calling him, and he's the gatekeeper, and he'd call me back and be like, hey, a mechanic slot opened up at Fort Lewis in Washington. I'm just we've been through this a million times. It was a struggle. So that's a long-winded answer to yes, there was a point, and I kind of had blinders on from then on.
It's just
this is what I want to do.
It's so insane to me that any person becomes a pilot, but let alone doing it in the military, going to Afghanistan. It sounds like a world that I can never fully understand. When it was an idea from the moment that it was reality, was it sort of what you expected it to be like?
Shockingly, yes. And I'm a very optimistic person, so I was like, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to get in as a pilot, which was kind of a long shot, just because I was in pretty bad shape. I didn't know if I had the flight aptitude to do it. My background was not in the military. A lot of people will be helicopter mechanics and then apply, and they have all the right letters of recommendation from pilots that they've worked with and all of that. I had no military experience. I was out of shape. I just didn't know. But I was like, okay, I'm going to go be a helicopter pilot. I'm going to do well enough to pick the aircraft that I want, which is Black Hawk, and then I'm going to get assigned to the job that I want, which was medevac. And it just happened. It's I consider myself one of the luckiest people for a lot of reasons, and this is one of them because it's Black Hawk is the most common airframe. 40% or so of people end up getting a Black Hawk, but medevac is one of 10 jobs, so it's 10% of 40%, that I was even, if I got accepted to be a pilot, which was a 1% on its own. So I'm not great with math, even though I'm Asian, but that's a small number. Yeah. And it ended up just being perfect. And I got the job that I wanted, and it ended up being everything that I wanted. I went to my unit, I learned how to, start up the helicopter really fast to go fly out and get people and bring them back. And I ended up getting deployed right away, and it's the most rewarding thing I'll ever have in my life, where every minute of your life is life or death. When you go use the bathroom, you have to think, what's my plan to get to the helicopter as fast as possible from here? When you shower, it's shower as quick as possible, get your uniform back on, get ready for that call. It's every minute means something. And then you come home and you're supposed to watch, football on TV, and you're like, I just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And you figure it out. You get integrated back into society, and you become somewhat normal again, as normal could be. But it took me a minute.
How long did it take you integrating back into society?
I would say it took me, 6 months to really feel comfortable. My situation was unique too, because I came home. My unit went for 9 months. 6 months in, I got hurt.
So you're in Afghanistan 9 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was only there for 6 months, hurt my back pretty bad. Got evacuated to Germany, had back surgery, and then got sent back home. So I was home for 2.5 months when my unit was still out there flying into these dangerous spots, picking people up. I couldn't sleep really for like 2.5 months. Like when they were over there, I was just like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like I just had back surgery. I'm sitting here at home. Like my life has no meaning. It was really weird. And then once they came home, it was still sort of like, okay, everyone's good, but like now my brain needs to wind down for that extra 3 months. It was nuts. And I had just started dating my now wife, and I was like, how did you stick with me through that? Like, you know, I'd be sleeping at her house, but I wouldn't be sleeping. I'd just be lying there. And like, you can feel that tension from people, and she'd just be like, you're so stressed all the time. And she saw, you know, the real me underneath and knew I would get there someday. So all the credit in the world to her. Those were tough times to date this crazy dude. So,
wow. I think I speak for both of us and also for the listener. I mean, thanks for your service. That's something that, like I said, I can't even envision what that must be like.
Appreciate that.
In poker, I mean, I don't want to draw a parallel because it's ridiculous. But
it's not ridiculous.
When you talk to poker players that play really high stakes, they always say that there's no adrenaline because once you allow the adrenaline, your decision making gets sort of clogged up by that. What was that like for you in those moments? Because I can only imagine adrenaline coming out of your ears in some of these spots.
Yeah. So okay, you're right. That is ridiculous. I don't know how those high stakes guys do it. Maybe they just do it so much that it just becomes mundane.
Okay.
But like some of the missions that I flew in Afghanistan, I don't know how you could ever fly enough of them to make them mundane, where like, you know, you're coming in and like, okay, there's like enemy combatants down here like shooting, so don't land yet. Oh wait, but there's 2 people bleeding out, so like land if you want to, but we don't know. And like you're making that decision. I only had to do it a few times. Every single time, it was insane. I don't know how this happened, but the edges of my vision went blurry, and everything became. I was so hyper focused. Flying is not that hard. Once you get through flight school, it's not that hard. What's really hard is managing the surroundings. So being on the radio, there's another helicopter with you. You have to talk to them, talking to the people on the ground, talking to the people back at the base who are waiting for you to come back. That's the hardest thing, just managing all of that, knowing the right button to click, who to talk to. During those missions where it got the craziest, I've never in my life I was just like everything was just on. It was perfect. Vision's blurred out. I didn't realize that we were getting shot at. I didn't realize till we got home that there were holes punched in the helicopter. But like, yeah, and I have to think that's the adrenaline coming in and just hyper focusing me. And the craziest part is that twice I almost felt like I was out of my body. Like I was here watching myself talk on the radio, do all these changes, fly this helicopter. And like when you're out there watching someone do something, it's easier, right? Like with poker, when you're watching poker, it's like, oh yeah, of course, do this. When you're in there at the table, it's hard. 2 times I had this experience where I was like watching myself do this, and it was just bang on, doing everything great. Get back home, drop the patient off at the hospital, and then you get out and you assess the damage, and you're like exhausted. Like you sleep for like...
You come down and it's like crash.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. That has to be an adrenaline spike, right? So for those guys, good on them that they've experienced that high pressure. I don't think poker and flying are that different. I think that they've just experienced that high pressure so many times that they don't even get an adrenaline response anymore, maybe. Wow. So anyway.
I get an adrenaline spike just listening to you.
Yeah, I'm locked in here.
I don't tell those stories that often. Not necessarily because I'm ashamed of it, but it's weird. No one wants. It's just weird to like sit down at a bar and be like, let me tell you some more stories. But like people are asking.
Well, I think, and I mean, I go as deep as you want on this, but I think it is something that, as a commoner who is just going to work every day, it is impossible to get perspective to begin with, and then when you also don't hear firsthand accounts, it's even further from where we live in our reality. So I think that perspective is important and context is important, and hearing this makes me, I mean, I'm a visual guy, it makes me visualize this stuff, and I'm like Black Hawk Down in my head, like just sort of living through that as well as I can, sort of through your eyes, which is just really hard for me to even picture. But I can imagine much more so now that when you come home, adjusting to making coffee and you know, taking an Uber is like the weirdest sort of sensation.
It's hard for sure. And what surprised me is like I didn't have any traumatic experience. Nobody in my unit, was shot. There were no Black Hawk Down moments. I'm flying a helicopter, so my vision is like landing pad to landing pad and then open air, and it's like flying that thing is amazing. By the way, it's just like it's like a Ferrari in the sky or a Lamborghini in the sky or something. It's when you learn how to fly helicopters, you fly on like those little news and weather helicopters that you see maybe flying over Vegas. That thing has like 350 horsepower. Blackhawk has twin 2,500 horsepower engines. It's like, it's not even, it's like, yeah, riding your bicycle or driving a Lamborghini. Yeah. It's like, it's completely different. They're both helicopters, but it's unbelievable. And
what's the speed on that thing if you really have to?
Max speed is 193. People have said that they've gotten it up to 200, and that's knots, which I think is a little faster when you equate it to like ground miles an hour. Fastest I ever got going was 177, and I thought I was going to fall apart. It's like shake. I was like, I talked to the dude who told me he got it over 200, and I was like, there's no way.
Wow.
Anyway, so yeah, I don't even remember where we were.
That's
I was just
crazy. I was thinking about the speed.
Bragging about the Blackhawk.
I was thinking as he was telling the stories, opening up a little bit about his experience in Afghanistan and sort of the adrenaline rush, the outer body experience. I have good friends back home that were Marines infantry, and when they came back from their tour in Iraq, no conversation was to be had about their experience.
Yeah,
and I think I don't know what it is. If it's you obviously will know kind of what they have gone through.
Well, yeah,
so
think about the
civilians can.
Think about the trauma that the guys on the ground have seen. They've seen and especially Afghanistan. By the time I was there, it was winding down. My tour was super tame compared to Marines on the ground in Iraq. Even medevac pilots in Iraq saw, shit that I would never have dreamed of seeing. So that they've seen trauma. They've seen their friends die. They've probably had to kill people, which will like completely mess you up.
Yeah.
And then they came home, and then they had to all I had to do was come back and readjust to like, caring about mundane shit. They have to like deal with all this trauma and readjust into this mundane shit. People get addicted to deployments too. I have a lot of friends in the Army who are happier when they're deployed than when they're back home, which is, it's a sad thing to say, but like they've done it 6 or 7 times and they come home and they don't feel like they fit. It's like they get life over there better than they get life back here. It's just, it's super tragic, and that's why the numbers are where they are with like veteran suicides. And to me, the way to combat it is I already said this yesterday, and I don't want to get super political, but it's like end the wars, man. Like I think the military serves a purpose, and I'm super proud to have been a part of the military, and I really wanted the role that I had because it's a support role. I'm very anti-war, but I'm pro supporting the troops, and this was a way for me to support the troops in a way that I wasn't. I don't want to drop bombs on whoever for whatever reason, and I think the world would be a really weird and scary place without the American military. Someone has to heavy is the head that wears the crown, and like someone has to take the responsibility of being the dominant power in the world. But I don't think we need to do it the way that we're doing it necessarily. Our army is as big as every army in the world combined. Does it need to be that big? I don't know. I don't think so. This is an unpopular opinion with most of my military friends, by the way. It's like,
yeah, I was about to ask you. This is
if they might be tuning in, and I think of myself as a pretty centrist. I'm probably more liberal than centrist, but they think I'm the most liberal person in the world. My friends in Seattle think I'm very conservative since I've joined the Army, which I think is a good place to be. But yeah, they won't be surprised by this. I've had talks with them about the same thing. So.
It's also a conversation that could take 3 hours, and
Absolutely.
There's a lot of sides to it, and there's a lot of depth to it, and
and
it's funny you also mention how you can both support it while at the same time be skeptical about the way things are being done.
Sure.
But yeah, that's a very long conversation piece, and I just appreciate your sentiments and sort of educating us a little bit on the inside of that.
It's a poker podcast.
This is a poker show after all, exactly. And I do back to poker, and let's get back to Afghanistan, your deployment.
Sure.
Did you play any poker over in Afghanistan? Did you and the guys get together at all?
We did not.
Wow. That's a shame.
Yeah, I know. Everybody they knew about, my past, that I had quit professionally. So everybody wanted to play, but we were kind of busy, and during your downtime, people like brainless downtime, and like poker's not exactly brain, you know. So like people would play a lot of like Call of Duty or watch movies or, you know, chill out. People, we're lucky we get AFN, which broadcasts just about every major sporting event. So like we would watch bowl games or, yeah, no poker. One of my best friend in the unit, he and I ended up going to a casino a couple times beforehand and after, and gambling it up and playing a little bit of poker.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Afghanistan, we didn't. Some people find it relaxing. It's kind of the last thing I wanted to do.
You just gave me a great idea while we're having this conversation. How about PokerGO for the troops? Everyone that's out there overseas serving our country, let's get them some PokerGO, Remko.
I love that.
Let's pass this stuff around. Get those codes out there. Those guys can at least enjoy watching, you know, some of their former veterans, Brandon Schaefer, battle here on the
We should have a veterans night.
Why not? Yeah, let's do it.
That'd be awesome.
The guy I was just talking about is actually deployed. It's his 7th deployment. He's in Egypt right now, flying a medevac mission out there. And I told him to tune in, and he said he doesn't think the internet
will hold it.
Yeah, the internet in Egypt would allow it, but our internet in Afghanistan, Bagram, the base is super robust. I think I've streamed stuff there, so maybe.
So then you go through all this. You are, I'm not sure what the right terminology is, but you're honorably, is it called discharged, or is it when you?
Yeah, so I was medically discharged.
Medically?
Yeah, an honorable discharge is just any time you leave. So you could sign a 4-year contract and the contract just go. My contract was for 8 years. They send you to flight school for 2 years, and then you owe them 6 years of service. I ended up hurting my back and couldn't fly anymore.
Okay.
So they medically retired me.
Got it.
Yeah.
So then after that, you basically went through this extremely intense couple years where you had a very clear purpose and you really had a goal and you really had sort of a longevity plan with those 6 years that you had to serve.
I would have stayed for 20, I think. I loved medevac. It was, again, you know, those last 3 years of poker, I was like, I need to find something that, you know, is exciting, means something to me, you know, something I could do. And like this checked all the boxes, man. It was awesome. So I would have stayed the full 20 years is like a full military retirement. I would have kept going.
Yeah. So anyway, but my question was going to be, when you then all of a sudden find yourself waking up one morning knowing that that's done, how do you then sort of pick up the pieces and, you know, maybe that bar is going to be a thing now. Maybe I'm going to go back into poker. What was that like?
It's a really good question. It was a little overwhelming to think about, trying to figure. I'd always wanted to go back and get an MBA. I wanted to start my own business, but I've never worked in a real job. And I know it's not necessary. Like some of the best entrepreneurs out there have no training, but I wanted to just sort of get a basic idea of the nuts and bolts. An MBA is like super simple, 2 years. You know, it's like an accounting 101 class, a econ 101, and then you can dive into what really interests you, like entrepreneurship or strategy, which is what I found I did really well in strategy classes in the MBA, probably because of poker. But yeah, so I ended up coming home. I told you I started dating my wife. I was in a weird place. We started to get real serious. I moved to Denver, and 5 days after I got to Denver, she got a job in Singapore for a year. So I had the choice. We weren't going to live together, but I had the choice to like move with her to Singapore, try to build that relationship, or, you know, I don't know, stay in Denver and do nothing. So against, you know, the advice of a lot of people, I went to Singapore. We lived together for a year. Felt like 10 years in like the good ways. Like you learn so much about someone being in a foreign country. You know, you're your only support system. Her job ended up being super stressful, so she'd come home, you know, de-stress with me. I learned how to be, you know, more empathic towards her, because males, we always want to solve the problem, right? It's like, there's this problem, and I'm like, well, why don't you do that? Why don't you? And she's like, I don't want to hear that. I just want you to like nod your head and be like, that sucks, which is like, it's just I don't know. I do it differently. But now with her, you know, I'm much better at, you know, and I got a lot of experience doing that a lot quicker than I would if I had just moved to Denver. We didn't live together, but, you know, we saw each other on weekends. Like, it felt like 10 years in the best way. And I knew that going out. I was like, I'm either going to go out and come home like in a month with my tail tucked between my legs, or like in a year we'll probably be ready to get married. So it ended up going well. I knew I wanted to take time off anyway, so that year was just, it was perfect timing. Post-military, get out there, party with a bunch of crazy Kiwis from New Zealand. Ton of expats in Singapore, very few Americans, which was amazing. It's everything I wanted. So yeah, ended up doing that. Applied to business schools while I was there. Got into the University of Colorado in Boulder, and just completed 2 years there. So.
And now it's sort of another chapter is sort of starting, but poker is also sort of back in the mix now. You're here in Poker After Dark. When the tweet got sent out for open seat, you responded almost right away, and I told Brent, we got to get Brandon in here. This is
further, Ali Najad saw it and pinpointed that tweet and said, that one, if I'm a part of this committee, this guy's coming to play.
Yeah.
And I messaged Ali that day. I was like, saw it, making sure our social team reaches out to him because that's a great story. We need to get Brandon Schaefer on the show.
I appreciate that a lot. And that's been an interesting transition too, is, you know, I've met my wife post poker. So she knew that I had played, but I had sort of lost interest, and I was like,
she didn't know about Rob Hollink.
Exactly. She didn't know that I still have nightmares about Rob. I said I didn't have any PTSD. There's one thing I have. Thanks for bringing it up over and over. I appreciate it. Rob, if I could lose to anyone, nicest guy in the world. Really, really great dude. But yeah, I would have rather won the grand final and been the first ever 2-time winner for like 10 years. Anyway, it's been interesting because just around February, I met a guy, friend of a friend, who plays a lot of poker. He comes out here. He's written a book on PLO. He runs a game in Denver, and he's just kind of connected to the whole scene. So he invited me out. Craziest part, the first game I go to is a 10-25 5-card Omaha game. It's dealer's choice whether it's high only or big O. And it's way bigger than I was thinking. I was like, I haven't played Hold'em in forever. I've never played PLO. But I'm just going to come in here and gamble with you guys just because, like,
how much money did you bring with you?
Fun. I only brought $5K.
Oh, and that's not enough.
I know.
Oh no.
I know. And so I folded every hand for like 2 hours, and then in a high only pot, I get ace, king, king, 9-3 double suited, all in 4 ways.
What?
In high
sounds
only.
like an amazing game. Did they hate you, by the way, because you were folding and playing so tight, and then you find like you're...
But the thing is, like, if you're friendly and you're like excited and asking people questions, like there's a difference between being nitty and just quiet in an empty seat, or like being sort of nitty and like, I'm trying to figure this game out. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, so you were like Matiso.
Yeah, exactly. I can't read a board. To this day, if I play in that 5-card game, I don't know what anyone has, really. It's like, we flip it over, like, what low do you have? I have a live deuce. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. It's nuts. And I'm a winner in that. It blows my mind. Anyway, the way the hand went down, I was like, there's no way these guys have aces. I was able to put in a huge 4-bet, and, you know, they called it off. Flops like ace 10-10, XX, and ace king king scoops. And it was no one had a 10 out of, 15 other cards. And I've been kind of addicted to the 5-card PLO.
I mean, that sounds like a great game. Wow. I'd love to spread that here.
That sounds like drugs for sure.
Oh, my God. That's great.
It's amazing.
Shoot that in my veins.
There's a smaller game that 1-1 with a $5 button ante. Same game, 5-card, high or low, dealer's choice. And then there's a 25-50 game that runs pretty regularly, and no limit hold'em. So that's the game that I've played in probably the most over the last few months. And to answer your question, like for Molly, it's a big transition. She met me post poker days. I was like out of sight, out of mind. I wasn't thinking about poker at all. Kind of met this guy, started watching more. I would still watch, the World Series and the big tournaments and stuff, but started watching more of the PokerGO stuff, following everything, playing these games, reading more, studying more. She's kind of like what happened, like what's taking over our life. So it's been a transition for her for sure. She's, to her credit, she's, she let me, like, I don't know if she had a choice. We had a discussion, like I was like, I really want to come to this PokerGO thing, but she's been super supportive. And, it's going to be, thankfully I've been winning so far. It's going to be a transition for her for sure to make poker a part of our life again, even though I have a full-time job, and it's still definitely like a hobby. Yeah. The fact that it's a hobby that I really enjoyed at one time and I'm really getting into again, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
But that passion is the most beautiful thing, because I can see it in your eyes that like it really lights up when you sit here, when you walk around here. Like the poker bug that you once had is still there. It just has like a different role in your life. But it is sort of cool that you've picked it back up. And I think that also is sort of cool to see. And I'm pretty sure we'll see more of Brandon Schaefer in the future.
I hope so.
For sure, yeah.
I hope so.
I want you to bring that Big O game out here. And by the way, Molly, if you are watching this podcast, please let Brandon keep playing poker. We love this guy. We love you too at home.
I love you too, Molly. Love you guys. Thanks for the opportunity to come out, man. It's really cool. It's really fun. I'm glad I sent that tweet out. Thought it was a cool story. Glad it resonated. And it's good to meet you. It's good to see you again. And hopefully it's not 9 more years.
Exactly. We'll hold you to that. You guys stay tuned. We'll be right back. We'll have some Trident news, talk about Bryn Kenny, and much more. All right, we are back. We have a lot of stuff to discuss. Trident, Bryn Kenny, a lot of movement on the all-time money list. Let's start with the Trident Million, obviously the biggest news of the week.
Okay.
Brent, Aaron Zhang wins it, but did he really chopped? He got about $4 million less than Bryn Kenny. Please summarize for me that experience of following along the biggest tournament in history.
I loved it. I was dialed in. I woke up usually an hour late. Coverage started out here at 5 a.m. Vegas time. So I was up around 6 with my kids, and I would turn it right on, and then my wife would tell me to fuck off because I was watching poker. But Aaron Zhang won it, Remko. Let's make that clear. First place means you won the tournament.
I agree, but it feels as though Bryn Kenny is the winner.
Sure, he won the most money.
Yeah.
But Aaron Zhang took home the title.
Yeah.
He's the one that's going to claim he won the largest poker tournament in the history of poker. Aaron Zhang owns that. It's not Bryn, but Bryn did win most of the money. And that needs to be ironed out and very clear.
Yeah, because also Aaron Zhang won less dollars than Esfandiari did for his one-drop win. Bryn Kenny has the biggest score in poker history, which is the second place.
Right, and I'm totally fine with that. I think that's really cool. So Bryn owns that record, that title, as far as who's won the most money in a poker tournament ever.
Yeah.
It's Bryn Kenny. However, the largest poker tournament ever run belongs to Aaron Zhang.
But the biggest win belongs to Antonio Esfandiari.
And somehow Esfandiari still has that.
Still has that record, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
In general, though, this Trident Million experience was, in my opinion, one of the coolest things I've ever watched. I think I've watched more poker in the last week than I've ever done, because every morning when you wake up, especially here in Vegas, you just turn it on and you just have it on the entire day. I watched so much poker because it didn't go late into the night because of the London time zone, and it was just a terrific event. Dan Smith getting third place,
Stevie
getting fourth place.
Vivek, the return of Vivek. I fucking love Vivek, man. Sidok, Mr. Raj Kumar. He is a really interesting guy. I remember when Vivek won a WPT, I think it was Borgata.
Wow.
Years ago. And he had this line. He was all in, and he just looked like this little kid. I mean, there was no facial hair. The glasses, poorly dressed. He was fresh out of high school, basically.
Probably. He was probably like 19 years old.
Skipped college. I think he started working for Microsoft when he was like 15.
Oh, what?
I'm not even kidding, yeah. And he just stands up and he goes, "This is so awesome!" He just has this quote, and I can't find the video anywhere. It's not out there, but yeah, Vivek, absolute legend.
Come on, World Poker Store, if you're watching, let us know where that video can be found. Yeah. That'd be awesome. Also, Bill Perkins made the final table.
Perky, baby.
That was awesome.
Yeah. How about, and then Big Al.
Big Al.
He ended up running it out, I think, in 7th, and Tim Adams, unofficial final table, was 8-handed.
Yep.
Tim Adams got 8th, but I do want to mention a couple things. So, Anthony Alberto, big-time sports fan. Right? You know this guy, right?
Plays
Alberto.
on Poker After Dark all the time.
Yeah, plays on our game, Super High Roller Cash game. Really loves sports. He loves sports so much that some folks were betting against him. Remko, this is a real thing. They were betting against him a lot of money because he loves sports.
Wait, was he putting on lines for the Trident Million?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, and he loves sports so much. So, like, Negreanu had a bunch of action. So much money was wagered against these business guys, Bill Perkins and Big Al. Everyone was betting against them, right? All these odds. There's no way they're going to cash, no way they're going to cash. Turns out, obviously, we know this. Perky 6th place, Big Al 7th place. Alberto just cleaned up, man. I don't know how much he loves sports so much. And he won so much money off of these side bets.
I love it.
I know. We need to get Alberto on this show to sort of talk about his love for sports.
In general, though, there is a future in which we are all watching live poker on PokerGO, and we can bet on the side as it goes.
Negreanu said that. That's like the future in poker.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I had more fun sweating this thing because I had so much money on the line and all these bets, allegedly, against Alberto, who loves sports.
Yeah, and stop slamming the table.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing final table, great coverage as well. But they also had a bunch of side events here. Linus Love, Linus Lohlinger
You
from
fucking
Switzerland.
love this guy.
No,
so,
well,
no pun intended.
The thing is, he is the best cash gamer in the world.
Okay,
I
argue that, but okay.
He's been a crusher on stars. He's not getting any action anymore.
Oh, you mean online player?
Online cash.
He's the best online cash game player in the world.
And
currently,
he can't get action anymore, or at least not enough. So now he's like, I'm over it. I'm going to try live poker.
Makita won't play him. Batsakuski, True Teller won't play this guy.
I'm pretty sure that
I think that's all bullshit.
I'm pretty
Remko.
sure
You're
that
making this up.
I'm pretty sure that these guys at this level just need more action, and now he's getting into live poker. I think this guy who cashed for $1.5 million in Triton this week, I think this guy is going to be a real force. I think he's going to be playing all these big high rolls around the world.
I don't think we're ever going to hear about his name for another decade. That's my take.
I'm willing to wager on him making the top 100 of the all-time money list in, let's say, the next 18 months.
18 months, you think he's in the top 100?
Yeah,
What's that figure?
It's like $8 million.
Well, I mean, if he's going to keep playing $1 million buy-ins, how can I compete?
Well, you said he's going to be irrelevant for the next decade.
No, he's irrelevant. No.
Okay.
Not yet.
Charlie Carroll banks another $1.3 million winning the 50K high roller.
Yeah.
He's relevant in various different ways.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't even care about the high roller. I'm just more into his
Doug Polk
feud
spat.
with Doug Polk right now.
And this is probably going on live as we speak.
They are.
Yeah.
Doug just released a fake court order. And by the way, did you see the nickname they gave Charlie Carroll? Charlie Nancy Carroll. I mean, that's pretty clever.
I mean, there's, like I said, Brent and I are totally uninformed on the matter.
No idea.
We haven't watched any of the videos.
No.
But it's been sort of funny on Twitter. Whether or not there's actual lawsuits
I don't know what it's about at all, but I think
clue.
Charlie did threaten to sue him
Yeah, he did,
for
yeah.
defamation of character.
Yeah.
Doug and I, we now share that together. I've been threatened to be sued.
Oh, really?
Now Doug's been threatened to be sued. I can't go talk about further details, Remko.
Oh, wow.
I can't. I mean, this, you never know.
Is
what
this still
could
with
come
the
out of
courts?
this.
Is this still with the courts?
I can't talk any more about this.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, we'll move on. Wai Kin Young wins the 100K main event. They had like 150 players in a 100K pound main event.
Yeah.
No limit hold'em, not the short deck version. Wai Kin Young even chop with Paul Fua, the organizer, for £3 million each.
And Wai Kin Young
is the son
of Richard Young,
also co-founder of Triton.
Of what?
Triton.
Triton. No, I thought you said something else.
No, Triton.
Okay, Triton. Just be clear here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the other T word.
No.
Okay,
not
don't
that
say
one.
that.
No.
Yeah.
So they raked in $6 million.
Rake?
No big deal. There was also Rake. Yeah. Did you know this? There was Rake.
There's Rake?
Yeah, it was Rake.
I love Rake.
You do?
I love Rake.
Well,
yeah.
I don't think we do Rake, but they do Rake.
Okay.
And then David Benefield, Raptor, one of the OG names.
Great guy.
Don't see him that much.
Yeah.
But apparently, guys like Peter Jetton and Gabe Podgorski and David Benefield, they are sort of all in on the short deck, and he wins his 50K for nearly $1 million.
That's great.
It's funny to see these big names from back in the day, Real Heaven, Raptor, those guys.
They had all the
battle.
money.
Yeah.
And here they are out there playing some of the biggest events in the world. I mean, this goes to show you, too, where, here inside the studio, PokerGO studio in Las Vegas, we're so spoiled by this beautiful environment. But over there, right, what Triton is doing, folks,
wow,
there is so much money over there. There's a reason why Tom Dwan was lost missing in a cave. There's a reason why Ivy has spent the majority of his second half of his life living in some sort of Macau penthouse. I mean, all the money is over there involved with this Triton series. It's remarkable.
One of the most exciting and funny things about these Triton streams is that some of the Asian businessmen, when they are playing, they just have 4 or 5 friends stand in front of the cameras, sweat them, look at their cards while they're playing at a feature table.
Yeah.
No one gives a single fuck, and they all just have a good time.
Can you smoke at the table?
Dude, you can probably take your clothes off.
Oh, that's it. Then I'm leaving for the first time in my life outside of this beautiful country. I'm going to Macau, and I'm going to smoke cigarettes, and I'm going to play poker.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
The all-time money list, Brent.
Yep.
The trends of the all-time money list.
Okay.
Fascinating to look at.
It's very fascinating.
When Bonomo made #1 last year after winning the one drop for $10 million, we were sort of trying to picture who is going to overtake him and how long is this going to take. Well, it took Bryn Kenny a year. I cannot believe that.
I can believe it. In fact, I believe it so much that Timex thinks that someone in the next, by 2025, is going to have the most career earnings out of any single sport. Is he on something?
He's on. I mean,
is that the dumbest take of all time? And Timex is so smart, Remko.
Yeah.
What is he talking about?
I mean, maybe he knows about some kind of like 100 or 1 million Bitcoin buy-in tournament that's going to create a winner.
You're onto something there. I mean, right? Maybe if we're at 1 million right now.
Yeah.
and then we're talking 2025, maybe in 2-3 years' time, is
$5
there going to be
million?
a $5 million buy-in? Is there going to be are we going to go Casino Royale on
Yeah,
this thing?
I think
and
so.
It's a $10 million buy-in event?
Paul Fua, if you're watching, if you're organizing a $10 million tournament, there better be some plaques on the table.
I mean, no one's going to hit career earnings over $150 million before 2025,
No,
right? And he's thinking it's going to be between like $800 million. That's nuts.
Bryn Kenny is at $55 million right
Right.
now. He needs to keep a $30 million pace, which is a record. He needs to keep that going for the next 20 years to hit what Mike Trout is going to earn over that period of time.
This exponential career earnings thing just can't happen at the rate that Timex is foreseeing. Then again, it doesn't look like a lot of people ponied up and wanted to bet against him. Everyone was just laughing at him.
It's
like
Timex.
Right
you feel
now.
like there's always an angle somewhere.
He's got to know something. He's
Yeah.
way too smart.
Yeah, for sure.
Way too smart. Anyway, back to these career rankings.
Yeah,
Bryn
so
Kenny. Yeah.
Bryn Kenny,
number one.
9 to first
Right.
in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Also, some more shakeups there. Dan Smith, 11 to 4. Chidwick, 19 to 8. 3 new names in the top 100.
My favorite one is Aaron Zhang, 2,190th all the way up to 32nd.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a $16 million score will do for your total earnings. Back in the day, not even that long ago, winning the main event would put you number 1.
Right.
Right?
No
Hossein
longer.
Ansah won the main event. He's not even top 50.
And we're going to hear more about this when Brandon Schaefer's on the show. But these guys playing these buy-ins, these super high rollers, they're their own league.
Yeah.
This should not be a part of what we see in the poker world. They really, and I'm not slighting it. I'm just saying that we need to figure out a way to classify this as something totally separate.
Yeah.
Because this isn't real, man. We can't ever play something like this. We're never going to see this. All of the folks at home, unless they're playing these events.
Yeah.
This isn't real.
No, it's not.
This is a whole other planet, Remko.
It is really bizarre. The numbers when you say them, 55 million in career tournament earnings.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
The buy-in is $1 million.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
bizarre.
come on. Phil Hellmuth put out a tweet this week.
You see that?
And we're going to roll this into the show. He tracked, shows out, he pinpoints that buy-ins of $5,500 or less.
He found the only list that he's still number 1.
Went to Hendon Mob. Hendon Mob puts it out there. Hellmuth puts it out. And, all that being said, he also stirred a conversation. Now Ryan Reese wants to see that list with $11,000 as being the max buy-in.
Yeah, because his main event scores
These
are
are
worth
realistic scores.
Also, every single person in that top 20 was over the age of 55.
Yeah, and everyone has a dream. I mean, here's the thing. Everyone sees themselves somewhere down the line, the bucket list, playing the main event.
Yeah.
Right? 10K buy-in. No one sees themselves playing $1 million buy-in.
No.
So there is this line that we have just got to figure out what we can and can't cross as far as these rankings are concerned.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to come out of these rankings. They're really fun to look at. I think from the outside looking in, it's like, wow, this kid's worth $55 million career earnings. Okay, average buy-in, $400,000.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We need to have 2 lists, but at the end of the day, when all the money gets tallied up, I'm still going to give Bryn Kenny the love that he deserves for being number 1.
As we should. I mean, again, I'm not slighting these guys.
No, of
I'm
course
just saying
not.
we can't relate to it.
Yeah.
Bryn Kenny, by the way, now that he's number 1, Remko, this motherfucker's never looking back.
Well, okay.
Bryn Kenny's going to stay number 1 the rest of his career. He's
Wow.
never looking back.
Really?
Never.
How long is he going to hold number 1? Forever?
Forever.
It's
Until
done?
he's dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Forever.
I mean,
he's too competitive. That's what Bryn Kenny does. It's Bryn Kenny's world. Do you remember that he was playing Magic the Gathering? He had his own website, and the slogan was, "All it takes is confidence." He's been living by that line since he was playing Magic the Gathering at 10 years old, Remko.
Dan Coleman was 2nd overall on the all-time money list just a few years ago with $28.9 million in tournament earnings. He is now 10th. What do you think 10th place will be 5 years from now?
5 years from now? Right now it's
10th
20.
place.
Oh, it's probably going to be like 35.
I think 10th place is going to be $50 million in the next 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's just crazy. It's just crazy. But yeah, Bryn Kenny never looking back.
Yeah.
Full pedal to the metal. Do you know I heard a rumor, Remko?
Oh, boy.
That he had 75% of himself.
What?
He put up $750,000 for this buy-in.
That's like $1 million.
And then he booked all that side action. You saw he bet on
Yeah, I
himself,
saw that.
right?
I saw that, yeah.
I don't even know how much money that is. We need to get Bryn on the show immediately.
We will.
To get to the bottom of this.
If Bryn would have been in Vegas, he would have been on the show.
Yeah.
But we'll get him on the show as soon as possible.
Yeah.
One more thing on this podcast before we wrap this thing up is, of course, the power rankings here. But before we dig in, I just want to mention to everyone, you can watch Open Seat on PokerGO. That is the latest Poker After Dark show. It's all available on demand. We tape this during the taping of Poker After Dark. So if you're new to PokerGO, please subscribe right now and use the promo code podcast to take an additional $10 off the annual subscription. You get to watch more than 100 days of live poker action every single year. And what's coming up is the Party Poker Millions Rozvedov event, which also has a Triton High Roller to kick things off. I saw that. I think it's 100K buy-in.
Jeff Platt, Jamie Kerstead are going to be calling the action there.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
And then we have the British Poker Open coming up from London with Super High Roller Bowl London to close things out.
That's right.
It's going to be a massive one as well.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of stuff to look forward to as a PokerGO fan.
Unlimited re-entry in Super High Roller Bowl London.
Wow.
Somebody could be in for 5 bullets.
Bring the big wallet.
It's going to be the $1 million buy-in all over again.
I love it. I can't wait. Let's dig into these rankings as we wrap up the show. It sort of goes without saying that Brent Kenny is number 1 on this list, even though he didn't win the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, of course he is. He won the most amount of money. Brent Kenny, he's more of that familiar face in the poker world. Not at all surprised that our committee landed on Brent Kenny as being the number 1 player. He's the most talked about player right now. Did that remarkable interview with Liv Barry, which, by the way, props to Triton getting it right. Liv Barry, of course, our very own Ali Najad, Nick Schulman. That trio right there, I thought stood way out above the rest. I love that production. I love everything they did over there. Brent, man, this guy, I can't get enough of Brent Kenny. One other note about Brent Kenny before we move on down these power rankings.
Remko. I know what's coming. This is going to be good. And we're going to hold Brent to what he's going to say right now.
This is fucking sick. November 13th and 14th, right after our very own Poker Masters 100K, here inside the studio, Brent Kenny is putting together a massive cash game. He's talking about, and I'm going to hold Brent to this, he's talking about $500, $1,000 no limit with a minimum buy-in of $500,000.
Tag Brent Kenny and BHanks11 on Twitter when this clip gets shared or whatever else you want to do to interact. This needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Brent's building it. If you build it, Bryn will come.
Yeah. Is Aaron Zhang, who is second on the power rankings, is Aaron Zhang now a big name in poker?
Yeah, Aaron Zhang is a big name in poker now here in the States, more relevant than ever before. However, it needs to be pointed out that Aaron Zhang, listed as a businessman for the Triton event.
Yeah.
Okay, if this guy's a businessman, then I'm the next presidential candidate. I mean, this is just insanity.
Nothing surprises me in this country.
This guy, that's a good point. This guy has won, from what I hear at the bottom, $250 million plus in these Macau cash games. He's one of the biggest winners over there. Somehow he sneaks in is the businessman category. I mean, I don't really get it. For crying out loud, he played in our Super High Roller cash game last year.
Yeah.
He had the pink fanny pack on.
Beautiful.
He ran those ridiculous bluffs. He had like $6 million in that little fanny pack. I mean, this guy's a professional poker player, Remko.
He's a crusher.
How's he a businessman?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah.
The payouts of the Triton Million is sort of in line with our rankings this week. Dan Smith and Stephen Chidwick 3 and 4, and then we have Charlie Carroll and Jason KOON, who finished 1 and 2 in that big 50K. Our boy Linus.
How did you get Linus in the rankings?
Like Linus is the man
who
that we need to watch.
Who did you pay off to get him all the way up to number 7?
Where's
my man Brandon Schaefer in these rankings?
Brandon Schaefer was on Poker After Dark after the rankings were submitted.
Christ.
You don't seem to know how time works.
Linus.
Time goes forward.
I like Linus. I'm kidding.
It's going to be fun to see how he's going to perform.
I'm kidding. All right, I'm kidding.
This is this guy's ultimate troll. Number 8 is the name that I do want to get at.
Yeah.
Because he played on the last Poker After Dark, and he's back again this week. Brandon Cantu in 8th place. He was firing last night, but also the week before when he won a ton. He lost a lot last night.
I've never seen. I mean, this guy, what's he doing? He's allowed to book a winner.
Yeah, he's
pulling a Berkey here. I mean, last time he played, he won like 40 or 50,000. Allegedly, they went to another cash game after the stream ended.
Didn't go so
well.
And
he lost it all.
What?
Every penny. Dusted it all off. Mike Matasso allegedly might be my source for that story. Now, Cantu last night, and we're going to see what he's going to do here on night 2. You guys tuning in, this stuff's already happened, so you know.
VOD, you can find it though.
VOD, yeah. Moving it all in just recklessly.
10-9.
I saw towards the end of the night, 10-9 offsuit, just $8,000 all in the middle. No problem. Loses to Ace King from Trevor Savage.
Is surprised. He was surprised that he lost.
I don't know what he's doing.
No,
I still think he's advertising, trying to get in sort of some bigger private games that are happening in the area. Maybe if he does this, That's his way in.
Oh.
I think that's got to be what he's up to.
So these are some contributions to the image.
Yeah, and I'm going to have him on shortly. Again, you guys have already seen this, but I'm going to interview Brandon Cantu, and I need to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
What the hell is happening?
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Okay, closing out the top 10 for this week. Hossein Ansan, the main event winner, still in there, holding on for dear life in 9th place. I do have some information on him playing all the big buy-ins in Rosvedov.
Okay.
So I can imagine he might make a little splash there. He is hot. He is on his game.
Oh, he is hot. He's a good-looking bastard, isn't he? You like the German men. That's your thing, huh?
Not necessarily. German women, maybe more. But he is definitely a good player, and he's fun to watch.
Hot.
Very hot.
Very hot.
Bill Perkins in 10th place.
Yeah, 10th.
Making a Trident final table.
That's right.
Big shout out to him.
Wearing that, I love the hat. He had a beret on.
Beautiful.
I mean, he looks good in that thing.
Swagged out.
Oh, my God.
He also said on Twitter, and we'll close with this, he said that he wants to do the equivalent of a Trident series in his island that he owns. He owns an island or something in the Caribbean.
Okay.
British Virgin Islands, whatever it's called.
All right.
And he wants to do it there. They did an Alpha 8 World Poker Tour there.
Bill Virgin. Wait, what is it called?
The Bill Virgin Islands?
The Bill Virgin Islands?
I don't know. I'm making
Never
shit
heard of
up.
that.
No, he lives on an island in the Caribbean, and he said that's the perfect place to do something like this. So I'd love to see that happening. I'm not sure if it's going to be going. But
Yeah, I call.
No,
I call.
Never happening.
I call. He's going to keep doing the Thirst Lounge stuff.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I love that, by the way.
You've never watched a minute
Nope.
of that.
Not a single one. But I will say back to Hossein, he's also going to be playing British Poker Open, likely.
Oh, beautiful.
Told me likely.
I like that.
And hopefully Super High Roller Bowl, London.
There we go.
All you can eat, baby. Clams.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
If you want to check out the schedule for the British Poker Open as a fan, go to PokerGo.com right now, go to the live events tab, and you can see exactly when you need to take time off to watch all these streams. If you want to play in those events, at bhanks11, slide into those DMs. He's got all the information for you.
And with that, too, we did this open seat week here.
Yes.
I love this stuff,
It was great,
man.
Yeah.
People reached out from all parts of really the world. I mean, we had international folks writing in. Granted, they thought it was a free fucking seat. Come on, guys. You think we're just giving away 5K, shells to fire out here? Put up the money if you want to play on Poker After Dark. Tell a really cool story like Brandon Schaefer, who you're about to hear more from just a moment on this show. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Brent Hanks even has his timelines messed up. We already spoke to Brandon Schaefer.
Never mind.
Doesn't matter. Anyway,
fucking ignore me.
On that note, we wrap up this podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast if you're listening to this as an audio. If you are listening to this as an audio format, know that I'm not sure if you want this, but you can actually watch us on PokerGo. The podcast comes out once a week on PokerGo, and this week, of course, thank you to Brandon Schaefer for making this into one of the most compelling stories.
We're going to hear from him next, right?
Yeah, we just hear from him. This is the most professional podcast in all of poker. Thank you guys all so much for watching and for listening, and we'll catch you guys next week.